I think it's important to give developers credit where credit is due, and recently Hoovers have been pushing out extremely good events across. This is not just true for Genshin, it's true in Honkai Star Rail and ZZZ as well. Especially in Zelda Zone Zero, the events over there have been really good. But there is a new event in Genshin called the Realm of Tempered Valor. And the way it works is similar to how a tower would work, where you start off with a weak wave of enemies, and then every time you kill a wave, it gets progressively harder and harder until you can eventually no longer clear with the teams and characters you are using. Now, before I do get started, I need to make this very clear. I am more so interested in the concept of the event overall, rather than the event itself as it stands right now, because I am aware it's not a perfect event. It does have a few flaws. For instance, the enemy variety is not that much, it's not that big. We need more enemies if this is going to be a permanent event in the game, but the concept is very good for a permanent endgame mode. Also, you have the fact that this is very clearly a Mavuika shilling event. Like, if you go and take a look at the buffs, you will notice that they all essentially say play Mavuika's team, which is Mavuika, Bennett, Shilon, and Sitlali, and then you're gonna clear. If these things are adjusted, then I do see a massive amount of potential in this event as being implemented into a permanent game mode. Now, the biggest selling point for me in this event, as compared to other ones that we've gotten in the past, is the fact that, unlike with Imaginarium Theater and the Abyss, where you clear chambers one by one, this gives you a bunch of waves that get progressively harder on their own. And that favors characters with wave clear. So it favors characters such as Ororon, it favors characters such as Venti, who are very solid characters, but are clearly intended for content where you have waves of enemies rather than big single target enemies. Now, obviously, Ororon is a good enough character that he does not struggle in single target when played in the correct teams. However, certain characters like Venti and most recently Mizuki have good kits for AoE, their whole thing is AoE, but unfortunately they don't do that well in single target. Especially with Venti, he has fallen off very heavily. And the biggest problem with Venti is the fact that there is no content that favors him, even though his kit itself is very strong. And the reality is, no matter how good a character's kit and numbers are, if they cannot physically function in any game mode, or at least any relevant game mode, then that's essentially the biggest nerf you can possibly give them. Because even though Venti's kit on paper is very good in AoE and against smaller enemies whom his ult can pick up, or at least group, you don't even need the pickup. Most of the time the pickup is useless, the grouping is what matters. If you don't have content that favors that, then you literally don't even need to nerf the character becomes irrelevant. And that's what happened with Venti. I do believe he is one of the worst at the moment, if not the worst limited banner pull. The only other character who might compete is Albedo, because Albedo got completely shafted by characters like Chiori and what's her name, Shilonen. At least in terms of the teams he would be used in if those two were not in the game. But aside from Albedo, I don't think there is a single limited banner character who is worse than Venti. Perhaps, well, no, actually, those other ones are still useful. So yeah, maybe a new event, like in Star Rail, we had the Erudition path, and for most of the game's initial launch period, Erudition was borderline a useless path because the hunt and destruction units were able to clear the content much more effectively. Now the tables have turned completely. Characters like Jing Yuan and characters like Herta have become significantly better with the new content. Herta is already a very powerful character, and Jing Yuan got buffed severely. However, the biggest thing that makes them now essentially better than the other DPS units that we have from the other paths, with the exception of a few very good ones like Fei Shao, is the fact that content has been designed to cater towards their kits. We have a lot more AoE favored chambers in Honkai Star Rail now, and if Genshin does the same, where we create content, not necessarily change the one we currently have. I'm fine with the Abyss as it is, I am fine with Imaginarium Theater as it is, I think I'm one of the 3 people who like that game mode. Most people seem to hate it. If we make a new game mode, a separate one, that can be included in the game mode rotation, like they do in Star Rail or in Zenless Zone Zero, where it focuses more on wave clear and AoE, I think that would be a very good idea. The Realm of Tempered Valor is an absolutely excellent starting point. Again, I know that what we have at the moment is not perfect, it's not ready to be implemented as a permanent game mode, but the concept is very interesting, and I think it has a lot of potential if we build upon it. Now, I don't think the main footage I have on screen is perfect for showcasing what I mean, so I will show you stage 2 of this event, where we have groups of 3 and 4 enemies, like these Xuanwen beasts you are looking at, where AoE characters can shine significantly more than they do at the moment. By the way, I know that the current Abyss of version 5.4 is very AoE focused, especially on the top side, I think. Or was it it was the first chamber. I know it is very AoE focused, but that is not going to remain the case in the upcoming versions, because at the moment they are trying to shill Mizuki and sell her as much as possible. So ultimately, what we end up with is a new game mode that gets sludged in between the current Imaginarium Theater and Spiral Abyss rotation. It can focus on AoE, area of effect damage, and on grouping units, such as Kazuha. Well, Kazuha is already very good, but he does shine in AoE. That is one of his primary advantages over Shilonen, in addition to the fact that Kazuha just does more damage than Shilonen in a team, especially after the reaction buffs. Yeah, it would benefit Kazuha, it would benefit Sucrose, it would benefit Ororon, given that he is a primarily superconduct unit. Obviously, these 3 units are already good ones, but they do shine in AoE content, that is objectively true. And it would be a significantly very good new game mode for characters like Mizuki and for characters like Venti, who are unfortunately not suitable for the mainstream Genshin endgame environment. Because, as you know, the current Abyss rotation is going to go away, like I said earlier. We're going to eventually return to either wave-based content that consists of like maximum 3 enemies into a big fat boss that we have to nuke, and those types of enemies are better suited for units like Hu Tao, Arbequino, Mavuika, Neuvillette. Actually, Neuvillette, because of how good his kit is, he doesn't do the most damage, but Neuvillette's kit is so good that he can do well even in AoE content, so the new game mode I am proposing in this video would ultimately be also good for him, because he is good in single target and he can very effectively clear wave content. So for those of you who like Neuvillette, which I'm assuming there are many people who do, then that would be excellent for him as well. You have, instead of chambers that you need to clear, you have waves, and you can clear them, and the further you get placed on a leaderboard with your friends, and you can compete with your friends and see who can clear the furthest with their team compositions. This is one of the big benefits of this event, or big strengths of this event, where you can have fun by competing with your friends and seeing who can get furthest with their wave clear, and I genuinely see the potential in the Tempered Valor. By the way, if you're confused why I'm not killing the enemies on screen right now, I'm just stalling for time. I need to get through a few points. Another beneficiary of such a game mode would obviously be Nilou, because I forgot to mention her earlier, but she is in the same boat as Venti and Mizuki, where she is absolutely fantastic for AoE content, but unfortunately she doesn't do that well in single target. She can obviously still clear, you can still clear with almost any character in single target, but she's clearly optimized for AoE content with her Super Bloom reactions. So as you can see, there are many good characters, popular characters that can benefit from such a game mode. And the best part about the Tempered Valor, which I hope would get carried into the permanent game mode if it gets added, is the fact that, again, you get placed on a leaderboard with your friends, but perhaps for the permanent game mode they can make both a friend list and a global leaderboard. That would be cool. We can have then serious competition, and I would be more inclined to try hard. And obviously you get to also see the builds that people used, the team compositions, the constellation level of their characters, to see if it is realistically clearable with the units you have and the weapons you have. That sounds like a fun idea. Let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? Do you think it's time for Genshin Impact to add a third game mode? I certainly do believe that should be the case. Honkai Star Rail has 3, technically 4 if you count some of the simulated universe stuff. Zenless Zone Zero has so many. ZZZ is absolutely amazing. I genuinely believe Zenless Zone Zero is probably the best Hoyoverse game at the moment. Their team is excellent at making endgame. They make very good content and the combat is very fun. Hopefully Genshin does the same. This game has infinite potential because of its open world nature. Let me know down in the comments if you guys think this is a good idea. Should we have an endgame mode that focuses on AoE content, like Honkai Star Rail's Pure Fiction, for instance? Or do you have a potentially better idea for an endgame combat-based mode? Let me know down in the comments, and I will see you very soon. I am working on a Moon video along with Mizuki, and that one will be pretty good, I promise you. You will like it. I know many people like King Desert. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you quite soon. Take care.